Okay, guys, let's get started. In our practice test, the pre-test that you took today, you should have yours already all filled out, and then we can go problem by problem. The reason why I want you to have it done before I go over each of the problems is because then it tells you if you miss one, hey, this is something I wasn't real clear on, or maybe you weren't being careful on that particular problem. It's going to help you on your test tomorrow. The problems will be the exact same type. Will they be the exact same problem? No. But if you know how to work these, you're going to do great on the test tomorrow, okay? So this test, the pre-test is just a review for the test. Your test is a review of the things that we've been practicing for homework, okay? So let's get started. Problem number 1 is Fran is 4 years older than Eloise. Now, again, I wouldn't spend all your time writing out the names. I would just use an abbreviation. So we've got Fran and we've got Eloise. Fran is Eloise's age plus 4 more years. Because Fran is 4 years older than Eloise. So, does it give me Eloise's age? No, but it tells me that Eloise is twice as old as Hector. So we've got Eloise is twice as old as Hector. Okay? Then it tells us Hector's age. So we've got Hector is 5. So this is a kind of problem we're going to work backwards to figure out what the answer is that we need here, because we want to know how old is Fran. So if we know Hector's 5, we know Eloise is 2 times Hector's age. So 5 times 2 is 10. So Eloise would be 10. And then Fran is 4 years older than Eloise. So Fran would be 14 years old. Okay? So hopefully you've had several of those kind of problems on your homework. So hopefully you haven't had any issues with those. I have heard from several people that have questions on their homework, and I love that. I know that I made a couple of typos on the answers, and I heard from some people on that. That tells me that you are checking your homework. And it tells me, I wonder why I didn't hear from everybody. Interesting. Now, problem number 2, draw a trapezoid. Well, you have to know, what is a trapezoid? A trapezoid is a quadrilateral, so it'll have 4 sides, and it has exactly 1 pair of parallel lines. So a trapezoid could look like that. It could be something that looks like this, because it only has 1 pair of parallel lines. This only has 1 pair of parallel lines. So a trapezoid, that tells you you're going to need to know all of those quadrilaterals that we learned. Trapezoid, parallelogram, rectangle, square. You're going to need to know all of those, how to draw them, what they mean. If you don't, you need to review. Do you know what a parallelogram is? Okay? All right. Number 3. It will cost $1.83 to mail the package. Mara put 3 39-cent stamps on the package. How much more postage does the package need? So this is a 2-step problem. So first of all, I'm going to have to figure out, before I can find out how much more, I need to find out how much has she already put on there. So she put 3 39-cent stamps. So I'm going to multiply that. 9 times 3 is 27. 9, 10, 11. So she's already put $1.17 on the package. It costs $1.83 to mail it. So I just need to subtract what she's already put on it from what she needs to find out what's left to put on the package. So I can't take 7 from 3, so I'm going to have to borrow. And so that will be 7 minus 1 is 6 and 0. So she will need to put 66 more cents on the package. Okay. Number 4. Number 4 is a problem like you guys took last week with the muffin bags. Some of you thought it was asking about muffins. You need to be very careful when you're reading these problems that you read the problem carefully. Let's read the problem. 33 desks were arranged in 6 rows. So we've got 33 desks in 6 rows. Now, what does it want to know about it? A, how many rows had exactly 5 desks? Okay, so I'm going to divide by the rows. I'm going to take the 33 desks and divide by the number of rows I have. And I will get 5 with 3 remainder. Okay, now, the question is, how many rows? This doesn't mean, just because you got that up there in the quotient, doesn't mean the answer is 5. Because what are you finding out? These are the desks. It tells you right here, 6 rows. So when you go to answer A and B, the sum of A and B will have to equal 6 rows. All right? So how many are going to have 5? Let's see, how many rows will have exactly 5? Well, we have a remainder of 3. If there's 6 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I'm going to have a remainder of 3. 1, 2, 3. That means there will only be 3 rows that have exactly 5. This number is telling me how many desks are in each row. I already know how the total number of rows. They want to know how many are going to have 5 desks, how many are going to have 6 desks in B. So 3 will have 3 rows with 5 desks, and we'll have 3 rows with 6 desks. And 3 and 3 equals 6, so that tells me my answer is correct. A lot of you last week, I know it asked for bags, and it told you had 9 bags. Well, then I got answers with, well, there were 4 bags in 1 bag. Well, that only amounts to 5 bags. If you have a total of 9, you would know, if you checked your work, you would know that is not a reasonable answer, okay? I want you double checking your work. I know if you double check your work or not, because your answers don't make sense when you read the problem, okay? On some of you. All right, let's go to the next problem. Number 5, draw a circle and shade 75% of it. Now guys, when they ask you for a percentage like that, what does a percent mean? Per 100. So if you're going to write it as a fraction, you know it would have 100 on the bottom. How many out of 100? 75. So if that percent throws you and you don't know how much to shade, change the percent into a fraction. 75 100ths should be a better picture for your brain to know how much to shade. And we know that 75 100ths is also 3/4. Okay, so I would suggest that you do that. Anytime that you see a percent and they're wanting you to shade something as a fraction, change it into a fraction. Make it a whole lot easier for you. Don't forget, when you divide a circle, it's like a pie. You don't cut a pie like that. You cut a pie from the middle. So if you're going to shade 3/4 of the circle, your answer should have been like that. Okay? All right. Number 6. What decimal number names the shaded part of this square? Well, if you look at the square, remember it's easier for me to write a fraction first. So I'm going to write it as a fraction first. I know that there are 100 squares in this picture. There are 100 squares. So I'm going to put my 100. That's how many I have. Now how many do I want? I want to know how many is the shaded part. And if I look, there is 1, 2, 3, 4 complete lines shaded. So I know that's 10, and 10 times 4 is 40. And then I've counted over 8 of those blocks. So it's 48 hundredths is shaded. Now, it wants me to put it as a decimal number. That's really easy. I just put my decimal, 48 hundredths, because the 8 is in the hundredths spot. Okay? B, what decimal number names the part that is not shaded? Well, I know that it has to equal 100, so I can just do a really quick mental. I would know it's 52 hundredths, and that as a decimal number is 52 hundredths. If you need to count the unshaded part, that works too, however you went about getting that. Okay. Number 7. Which digit in 14 and 375 thousandths is in the hundredths place? Now, be careful, hundredths. Of course, there is no hundreds place here, but how do you figure out? You're going to have to know your place value. Tenths, hundredths, thousandths. And remember, they match up with tenths, hundredths, thousandths. It's the exact opposite. Hundredths, tenths, thousandths. Okay? All right, so what number is in the hundredths place? The 7. Number 8, 2 parts. Estimate the product of 37 and 51. Well, if I round 37 to 40 and I round 51 to 50, I can do that real easy. I have 2 hanging outies, 0, 0, and 4 times 5 is 20. My estimate is 2,000. That isn't the whole problem. The second part, find the exact product. So I'm going to have to take 37 times 51. I do my ones first. 1 times 7 is 7. 1 times 3 is 3. I put my hangy outie like I'm just doing the 50. And then I multiply the 5. 5 times 7 is 35. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 3 is 18. I add my 2 answers together. If you're having trouble with the 2-digit by 2-digit multiplication, you can check yourself. Write 51 in expanded form. You've got 50 and you've got 1. Multiply that 2-digit by 2-digit separately. You got your hanging out of 0. And then add those together, you should get the same answer. You can check yourself if you're not real 100% feeling confident on those 2 by 2. Multiply the 10s and multiply the 1s. Add them together, it should be what you got. Okay? So the answer is 1,887 for the exact answer. All right. 2,000 was our estimate, which that was pretty close. Number 9, Beth bought a meter of ribbon and she used 1/4 of it. 1 meter. She used 1/4 to make a bow. About how many millimeters of ribbon did Beth use? Well, you're going to have to know how many millimeters in a meter. 1 meter equals 1,000 millimeters. Okay? So if she used 1/4, what is 1/4 of 1,000? 250 millimeters. Number 10, what is the area of this rectangle? And it's 80 feet by 50 feet. So that to get the area of a rectangle, you take the length times the width, and that's 80 times 50. I have two hanging outy zeros. I'm going to bring them both down, and all that leaves left is 5 times 8, which is 40. Area wants to know how many squares. Square feet. All right, number 11. There are 24 students in the class. 2/3 of them are reading books. How many students are reading books? Now, guys, this can be tricky because when you divide, you're going to divide your 24 by your how many you want to divide it into. We want to divide it into thirds. So 24 divided by 3 is 8. That is not your answer. 8 is 1/3. So I want 2/3. So I have to take 8 plus 8, and my answer is 16 students. So that's a little bit different than we've been doing. We've just been doing the 1/3, and you can just take your answer. But it wants to know 2/3. So you have to add 2 of these together. Okay? All right. The next, number 12. Cedric drove 364 miles in 7 hours. If Cedric drove at a steady speed, how far did he drive in 1 hour? Well, we're going to have to take the total number of miles and divide it into 7 pieces, and that'll give us the 1 hour. So 7 into 36 will go 5 times. That's 35. 14 divided by 7 is 2. So our answer is 52 miles. Number 13, write 67 hundredths as a decimal number. It should look like that. Tenths, hundredths. 67 hundredths. Number 14, 3 4/10 minus 34 hundredths. Notice, decimals right on top of each other. The tenths right on top of each other. This one doesn't have a hundredths. I can stick a 0 up there if I want to. I think it's going to be easier because we're going to have to borrow. So, we can't take 4 from 0, so we're going to have to go over here next door and borrow a tenth and bring it over. 10 minus 4 is 6. 3 minus 3 is 0. Our decimal comes straight down. And 3 minus nothing is 3. So we've got 3 6 hundredths is the answer. Number 15, 30 times 700. You should be able to do this one in your head. You've got 1, 2, 3 hanging outies. 7 times 3 is 21. So your answer, 21,000. The next problem, $8.16 times 9. 9 times 6, 54. 9 plus 5, 14. 9 times 8 is 72. Plus 1 is 73. So your answer is $73.44. Don't forget your unit. Next one. 27 times 24. 4 times 7 is 28. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 2 is 10. Now we're going to multiply the tens, so there's really a 0 there when we multiply the tens, so I've got my hangy-downy 0. 2 times 7 is 14. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. $648. Again, to check it, if you want to do 27 times 20 and 27 times 4, you should get, if you add those together, you should get this answer because that's exactly what we're doing, okay? Sometimes it's just confusing stacking them like that. But you can check yourself until you get you're real comfortable doing that. 1,000 divided by 8. 10 divided by 8 will go one time. Leaves us 2. Bring down our 0. 8 will go into 20 2 times. That's 16. Bring down our 4. Bring down our last 0. 40 divided by 8 is 5. Our answer, 125. $732 divided by 4. Look at that problem on number 19. It's a fraction. A fraction is a division problem. So you're going to work this fraction out. 732 fourths, or 732 divided by 4. It's the same thing. All right, so let's work it. 7 divided by 4 is 1. And we have 3 left over. We're going to bring down our 3. 33 divided by 4 is 8. It's 32. Leaves 1. Bring down our 2. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So your answer is 183. Okay, our last problem. I want to write this out because too many of you are missing this type of problem. All right, and I think I've marked mine out, and that's what I want to show you how to do. I hope I wrote down the right ones. Okay, so here's how you can do this. You've got a whole big string of numbers like this. You can take it a little bit at a time because what you're trying to figure out is what is this letter right there. Means what do I need that to be so that when I add it up it equals 49. Look for pairs of 10. That makes doing this so much easier. Look at this. 9 and 1. 5 and 5. Here's 6 and 2 and 2. That's 6 and 4. That's another 10. And then that leaves this 2 right here. So that's 10, 20, 32. See how easy that was? If you look for groups of 10 when you're adding big numbers like that, it really makes it easier. So now all I have to do is subtract 32 from 49 to figure out what I need to add to that to get 49. So that means n is really 17. And that's it. So if you feel confident with yourself, great. I look on here, you're going to need to know how to do your base numbers, your decimal numbers. You're going to need to know your place values for your decimal numbers. You're going to need to know estimate and exact, what that means. Hopefully you do. You're going to need to know how many millimeters are in a meter, how many centimeters are in a meter. I don't know exactly what they're going to ask you. How many millimeters in a centimeter? You're going to need to be familiar with that. And then if you're not really sure how to work a problem, remember you've got this lesson number in parentheses down below that. And then you've also got, right? Okay. So I was very pleased with the math scores. Most people scored very well on your last test. Some of you could be a little better at checking your work. Slow down. You know, and you're at home taking these tests. I don't care if you maybe take a page of it and then you want to take a 5-minute stretch or go to the restroom. That's fine. That's up to you. I want you just to do your best work, and whatever that circumstance is that you need to be in to do that. Okay? Good luck on your test tomorrow.